All right. I did want to say one thing about the Georgia South Carolina game. Obviously, we won. We should have. It was should have pummeled them. What I am frustrated about is you're rolling in the game. Your first two possessions, you get touchdowns. Third possession of the game, you roll out Stetson Bennett out there, and I get it. The guy has been loyal to Georgia. He's been through a lot, but that's just an absolute momentum killer when you've been rolling along. And the first pass with Bennett in is a pick. And I remember thinking, so I had walked out of the room for a second and I walked back in and I was like, oh, wow, JT, man, he just made a mistake. And then I looked and it's Bennett. And I was like, why is he in the game? And don't get me wrong. I like the guy, he's a Georgia boy, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But why are we breaking the momentum? We're rolling along. And I can't remember if it was Holly Rowe, who was the sideline reporter. Anyways, one of them was saying that Kirby had said that both quarterbacks had earned the right to play. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, is this real life? Are we looking at the same thing? Because again, I get it. Bennett has been, good when we needed him last year and everything. But man, there's no comparison. I don't think when JT's in the game, you're stretching the field. He's making those touch passes to the guys on the outside, and it just I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know. You talk about I don't know, Matt. I watched that and I was like, what are we doing? Like you curb stomp the competition and then you put in the second guy. Not like, oh, we scored a couple touchdowns. Let's push pause on the game and just sort of do this. No, you keep rolling. I didn't get it. So
it's not upward. Not everybody gets to play. Not everybody is a winner.
It was a point of, and don't get me wrong. Like I said, we were able to do what we needed to do, but my gosh, it was just a point of frustration with me. I was like, we can't do this. We can't do things like this. Especially when you're dealing, you have to consider things with like the committee later on too. It's not just about winning the game. You got to look stellar doing it. So we can't do any of this. Oh, well, we scored a couple of times. Let's just roll out somebody else at quarterback now. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. The whole situation in that score sounds really weird. It would almost be like the equivalent of, I'll give you an example. And I'm not saying that, not Stetson Bennett. What's the other fellow's name?
JT Daniels.
Thank you. Daniels. I'm not saying JT Daniels is Peyton Manning by any stretch of the imagination. But if Philip Fulmer in 1996 or 1995 had decided after a couple touchdowns against Florida to pull Peyton Manning out and put in like Todd Helton or something, or not Todd Helton, who was his backup?
Todd Helton's a baseball player.
Yes, but he was also Peyton Manning's backup when he was at Tennessee. So I did get that name right. It was Todd Helton. It's jarring. It makes no sense. And I don't understand why Kirby makes that decision. And he's done it a couple times, right? Didn't he do that in the first game too?
Well, no. So the second game, JT was kind of nursing an injury. And
that's right.
That was understandable. And obviously it was against UAB.
It makes no sense to me.
He completed 10 passes. 5 of them were touchdowns. So that's kind of how that day went. But yeah, you can't do that against, obviously they still got away with it against South Carolina. But again, it's like, why are we doing this? I could understand, yes, we're way out in the lead and maybe the first half is over. Maybe we're in the third, maybe fourth quarter. Then you start rolling your other guys out. Heck, I'd like to see Brock Vandegrift take a few snaps, maybe even get into your depth chart then, but not in like the first quarter. I mean, that's kind of like, oh well. Anyway, yeah, that was just kind of a rant from me because I was like, and you guys saw me blowing up the group text. I was like,
yeah, what? There was definitely some things said about that.